It's been a lot. I am a strong person, but subconsciously, the comments do get to me. If I knew Scott was going to stay loyal, I probably wouldn't done Casa the way I've done Casa. Girl, give me more. Like, I have more to say.
Hi guys, it's Jodie here from OGE. Now, Hollywood, as we know, is on strike, but this Barbie is powering on because I've got you another Love Island chat today, and I've got Catherine with us in the studio. Hello, girl. How
Hi,
you
lovely.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am all the better for seeing you, and I'm loving the fact that we're just gushing over each other's accents right now.
I know. I'm like Glasgow. Say no to me.
No. How are you doing? You're back in the real world now. How have things been?
It's been a lot. Like, it's been a lot of adjusting. Like, obviously, you're in the villa. You have no phones. You have no books. No nothing. Like, you literally just have each other. So it's literally dissecting everyone, like, completely. So obviously I'm out now and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot there's actually a real world. Like, like I wish I was in that bubble forever.
I mean, that's how I feel after seeing the Barbie movie. I'm definitely still living in Barbie land.
I still need to see that.
You're gonna love it.
Oh my
You will
God.
love-
I'm
And see,
gonna
this
feel
is the
like a
thing.
little
You can
girl.
do all this
You're
now.
wearing pink. You're giving me like, nostalgia. Like, I love it.
So what's it like when you actually come out then and open your phone? Because I would imagine that the phone just blows up because there's too much notifications on it.
I was so scared because obviously I was in the villa for 5 and a bit weeks, but then I was in isolation like a week beforehand. So I had not had my phone for like 6 weeks, and I was a person that my screen time was like 22 hours. Like,
Same.
so it was definitely weird. And we only got our phones as soon as we got into the car back home. So I literally had the car journey to dissect, but like I didn't even try and attempt that. I just straight called my mom, straight called my sister, and just spoke to them like straight away.
And were you as excited to get into the car to the airport as you were for the car at Casa Amor?
Get in the car! Do you know what? That was so funny because it wasn't straight away. Like, I remember we were so happy. Like, Neo, we were like, oh my God, Neo wants to take a selfie with us. And he did it so naturally. And then he just says the car, and then us girls, like, it looked like 2 or 3 minutes, but we were screaming for like 10, 15 minutes. Like, people around us were telling us, shh, girls, shh, the boys are going to hear you. The boys are going to hear you. So I'm like, you know what? Let me take a hold of this. Girls, get in the fucking car. And then they all run. I'm like, yes, we need to go.
And I feel like Casa happened, and then from the outside it looked as if like when you came back it was just like there was this change. So you went to Casa.
Yeah.
How was Casa for you?
So Casa was actually difficult for me like the first day. Like, there was a lot of like unseen bits where I actually said like, you know, I wasn't gonna do anything, that I am closed off. And then there was a situation which kind of like changed the way, I don't want to say change as such, but like made me think of situations differently. And then I started approaching it more open, like the second day onwards. And then again, because we all kind of knew Casa was coming up, so everyone was kind of discussing their couples, like about Casa, or we'd be discussing groups. So what me and Scott actually discussed was that we were open.
Right.
Again, that wasn't aired and stuff, but like it was just him coming to me saying that like, I know we're closed off in the villa, but you know, if bombshells come or like when Casa does come, I will be open to get to know the girl. So in my head, you know, he was gonna recouple. And with the everything that was going on at the time as well, the game playing situation, like I am a very strong-minded person, but I think there was about 14 people in the villa. So I think me and Scott, so 12 other people are in your head about the same person, and I've stayed strong, because I'm with him. But then when in Casa, when you have everyone else still saying the same thing, putting light onto the situation, and then again I did hear that he was open, it just made me be like, okay, there's no doubt that Scott's cracking on, kind of thing.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's actually really good to get the context around it. So what were people actually saying to you about Scott? Did they just not believe that he was into you?
No, there was more to it.
Right.
Yeah, so obviously, I like a lot of it just didn't get aired. Like even the whole
Let me just sip my tea.
even the whole fire pit moment, like that wasn't just like a 10-minute thing. Like we were sat down for a long time discussing all these comments. Like, and even when I said Scott stood up for me, it was because the boys were telling me to shut up.
Right.
And like the boys were like, stop talking, this is that. And Ella was even like, she's talking, let her talk, this is that, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, talk. So I was like, that is so nice. Like, you know, so much people are shutting me down and like, you know, that. But like, it was just kind of addressing comments. Like, I heard some of the comments myself, but I never took it that way.
Comments that Scott had made.
Yeah. So it
Right.
was just comments like, I don't know, just talking about like maybe the outside world or like, I don't know, just I do see why people took them
Right.
comments a certain way, but I just thought maybe he's excited or.
But it wasn't anything like disrespectful about you personally or
No,
anything.
no. So I think they were just questioning him.
Okay. Right.
So, like, is his intention pure? Because if he's, I think the boys were saying stuff like, oh, like, he's a goalkeeper, but why is he not discussing football? Like, why does he want to change the conversation to, like, I don't know, something else that's not Love Island related or something like that.
Okay.
So it was just more of stuff like that. That was actually the main reason of that whole fire pit moment.
Okay.
Because what they were saying was that they were just questioning his intentions.
Right.
Yeah. But I said, look, me and Ella's whole point about it as well was like, okay, even if he came in, with a gameplay, you can't deny that we are getting along.
Yeah, exactly.
And like people's minds change. Like
yeah.
people can change. Like you might have come in with that, but when you're actually in there, it's so different.
From us, that's why it was so confusing because on the outside, people were shipping you and Scott
I know.
so hard. I think
know.
probably the hardest at that
I
particular
know.
point.
Honestly, like even like when we came back, like I wish everyone saw like our very cute, vulnerable conversations where, I'm crying saying that like I really liked him and, hearing XYZ from the boys because the boys were basically like, he was going to crack on anyways, but he wanted more. Like, it was just a lot of stuff that I was getting told that made me think, did you even like me?
And I guess if that many people are in your head about it, it's going to make you think
Exactly.
twice.
Like, I am a strong person, but subconsciously, the comments do get to me. So, like, I don't know, like, they'd come back from Casa and they'd be like, because there was a whole suitcase situation, okay?
Yeah.
There was a whole suitcase situation that didn't get aired. Again, it could be stupid to everyone else, but to me, it wasn't stupid. Like, long story short, I got my suitcase packed. Obviously, everyone got packed their suitcase for Casa. And in my suitcase, there was nothing for me. And like Scott also loves the show. Like he is a super fan as well. So he knew like to put something like sentimental in, and he didn't. Okay, and open up the suitcase. Oh, and then there was a jumper. Okay, so there was a jumper in the suitcase. And I was like, ooh, this is the sentimental thing that Scott has given me. So I'm wearing the jumper. I'm like to all the Casa boys, all the girls, like, ooh, I'm wearing Scott's jumper.
Aww.
I'm going to the interview, like, oh, Scott's such a shit packer, but at least he got me his jumper. So I walk into the dressing room, and then Katie's like, oh, where'd you get my jumper from? Yeah. And obviously, to everyone else, it was funny. So all the girls were laughing. But then I just...
So that's upset you because there's been nothing sentimental.
Yeah,
and that was the
all the girls
thing.
are even boasting about... Even Katie's like, oh, Zach got me planned because I keep talking about plants and stuff like that. So, like, my bonnet and stuff wasn't... Like, nothing was for me. So that made me think, like, oh, he really did want to take Casa as Casa.
Okay, yeah. And also it's like, are you even thinking about me?
And that was my whole thing. And then, like, putting together conversations we had, everyone in my head about it, blah, blah. And even Mons was like, oh, I did say to him, oh, Catherine, oh, are you not going to put anything for Catherine? He was like, oh, no. So in my head, I just thought he did not care.
Yeah. And I guess now that you're saying that, we can see that clearly because we were so in the dark. Like, it was like we thought you guys were like, going to go
and like
potentially
these
to
are
the
the stuff
final.
that we used to talk about. Like in that fire pit conversation, I spoke about all this to him. I spoke about the suitcase. I spoke about, how the boys were saying that you wanted more girls to come in or, stuff like that. And like, I was like, of course I feel like you didn't like me or like I had to question like what, whatever. But then we did sort it out.
Yeah.
And, and I did apologize. Like I said, like I never wanted to see him stand there alone. Like I was shocked myself because for me it was given. Like everyone, like when we used to discuss it with the girls, it was like, oh, we'd be like, oh, who just gonna hook up with a Scott for sure, but who else? Like it was always like a, you're stupid if you think Scott's gonna stay loyal to you.
Trying to like
and again, I'm very strong, but and I used to ignore. Even at the start, I ignore. But this is all you hear 24/7, and in the villa it gets very boring, like very boring. So this is all people discuss.
It's $1 million question then.
Yeah.
If you knew that Scott was going to stay loyal, would you have cracked on at Casa? I know it's hard because it's like
What I will say, if I knew Scott was going to stay loyal, I probably wouldn't have done Casa the way I've done Casa.
Wow.
So in that way, I would say that like I still probably would have brought Ellen back just to explore because I feel like I was there when Scott wanted to explore Leah. I was there when Scott wanted to explore Katie. I was there when Scott was saying he wants to explore for everyone, you know. So I just wanted to have that same
Yeah,
experience
of
because
course.
my journey was not easy in Love Island, you know. So I wanted, you know, to just have that same grace kind of thing.
So what did Scott say to you when you brought up the things that the boys had said? What did he say about the comments? Did he deny them or?
So the thing is, I've heard them comments as well, but
Right.
I just looked at it as someone that like was excited, but that doesn't change who he is or what he's here for, kind
Okay.
of thing. So I never took it as, you know, Scott was here to play a game, or, you know, I never took it the way they took it. And my thing was like, okay, if he's talking about followers, if you other people here are talking about followers, you guys are just
Yeah.
nitpicking at him,
Okay.
you know? Because I don't want to call everyone out and be like, you said this, you said that. I just feel like with Scott, they were doing that with him.
Okay.
And that's what I didn't like, because if you want to talk about how you guys have all been saying things, we will.
Yeah.
Not only this one person.
Yeah. And then let's talk about movie night.
Yeah.
Movie night. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what a night.
I know, what an eye.
But then it all kicked off, and obviously, I think the comment that kind of upset the public watching it was obviously when Leah said no one wanted you, like the girls didn't want
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So,
So what happened? Okay, so cool. So obviously coming back from Casa, this one there's no context to these situations. Like people watch it and they don't know where it's actually come from,
okay.
and it just looks as if we've just got. Our
Give us
head.
the context,
So-
Catherine. We're going to call you Context Catherine from now
So
on.
yeah, see, I'll take it.
I love
But yeah, so obviously prior to movie night, like when I'm trying to find out like what Scott was doing in Casa More, both the Casa girls and the boys were saying basically that Scott would have cracked on and would have did a madness if I think it was Gabby, if Gabby didn't say Sammy.
Okay.
Okay, so they basically were saying that, like, you know, if the girls wanted him, whatever, and it was kind of, that's what they were all saying. So it wasn't like my opinion, or I wasn't putting that forward. So when it came to movie night, there was a lot that was edited out.
Okay.
Like, it was Amber actually started it.
Right.
So Amber actually said, you know, she's the one that came with this comments, and, you know, she started it. So we were like, okay. And then Leah was like, and then they're like, the boys are coming to us saying, what did she say? And Leah's like, it's not mine to say. Like, that's what Leah tried to keep. Like, she didn't want to actually say that comment.
Okay.
So she was like, it's not mine to say. And they're like, the boys are being boys. They're being wind-ups now. Like, they're getting, like, very aggy, very whatever. Scott's not talking. Like, he is talking a little bit, but he's not talking too much.
Okay.
So he's like, you know, he's firing them back. We're all firing back. And then I'm still out of it, so I'm not saying anything. So they're now coming to me. But again, you don't see them asking me, like, what was said, this is that. And Mitch was being annoying. So I was actually talking to Mitch. They were zooming into my face and not showing the full, like, who was I speaking to or whatnot. Like, I was actually speaking to him because Mitch was like, look, you're sad over Bonnet. You're sad over Bonnet. And I hated that because it's
Yeah.
like, Bonnet is a black girl thing.
Exactly. Like,
it's-
no.
Yeah, exactly. Don't
Don't underestimate how
Yeah.
much you need a bonnet.
Exactly.
Like, what do you know about bonnets,
Exactly. And he was
Messy
like,
Mitch strikes
Messy
again.
Mitch strikes again. Like, Messy Mitch strikes again. So he was like making like over a bonnet, over, and then when he was like, not the bonnet. this
Yeah.
is that. And
Not the bonnet.
yeah, because obviously he didn't back me bonnet as well.
Yeah.
So, but it was like, so he was like taking the piss out of the situation.
Yeah.
That angered me. So
Yeah.
I fired back. I was like, no, what was said? Because no one's still saying what Leah, Amber, they weren't saying what was like Amber said.
Okay.
So then I was like, yeah, he said, because no one wanted him in Casa. But I wasn't speaking to Scott. I was speaking to Mitch, that everyone kept, because they were asking me what was said, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So there was just a lot of like, there's probably so much arguments. That we
yeah,
just
there
never
was so much.
seen.
Yeah, like the boys and the girls were really getting at each other. They were being wind-ups. But again, what was so crazy after movie night was that everyone was good after. Like, despite the arrogance, despite Mitch making my bonnet comment, despite the whole everything, we all sat down together and we
It
started
was
playing the
fine.
games again. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how do you feel about the way that you were dumped? Because obviously no one was expecting it. I mean,
Yeah.
your face on the night said it all.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, had the same face.
Yeah.
Like, it just came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Like, what? You know, it is what it is. Like, I feel like Love Island's a journey. Everyone has their own journey. Like, if that was my time, it was my time. I think what more upset me was obviously leaving the girls and obviously how savage it was done. Like,
I know. it
Whitney
was
and Ella
savage.
read out my text, like the girls I'm closest to in there. Like, of course it made me upset. Like, I was so like, oh, like, you know, I was really like, oh. Obviously, I felt like I shouldn't have left, or I wanted more time, you know, because at that time, me and Scott were such in a good place.
And so then when you came out, obviously you were trending. There was
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
stuff online.
Yeah.
What was it like to come out to that? Because I can imagine that's quite hard.
Yeah, it was definitely so hard. Like, it was like, I regard myself as a very strong person, but that was hard because it's like, you know, you were in the villa and you know how things went, you know, and you know, no one hated each other in the villa. You know, everyone was in a good place. You know, people say you didn't apologize. You know, there was apologies there. Like, you know, all these things. It was so hard to not address stuff as well. And like,
I know you went on the podcast with Sam in India, and obviously you kind of felt like you had to apologise, and then Sam kind of jumped in and stuff. So did you feel like you owed an apology to anyone?
Yeah, because obviously if I was a viewer watching that, I would have felt uncomfortable.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, sorry guys for making Scott upset. It was, sorry if you felt uncomfortable watching it, because that was uncomfortable. Like, that would be uncomfortable to see. That would be, you know, whatever. But all I wanted to get forward, like, you know, you run a limited time in here. Like, all you want to get forward is, like, you know, when you have two people that care for each other, even if you have family members, like, you fight, you say some weird shit, and then you guys will be smiling after. Like, that was the relationship with Scott and I. Like, it wasn't a toxic one, but like, it was a thing where, you know, we were screaming at each other, but then we'd beat each other.
And obviously on After Sun, I don't know if you've seen this, people might be reaching, but when you were watching your best bits, apparently you were like really smiling when you were watching the moments with you and Scott, and then apparently your face went quite serious when it was you and Ella. Do you remember?
Yeah, no, I don't even remember that. I don't even I didn't even think that. Like, I honestly was just watching, because obviously I had a journey in there. Like, you know, when the acting came up, I smiled. Like, I didn't even realize that. Like, I don't think it was anything. I think it was just like, I don't know. I don't know.
People honestly, just reading into things.
I honestly, they just think they're reading into stuff. Like, I honestly think, like, obviously it's nice to see your best bits. Like, it's nice to see me in the dance challenge. It's nice to see, you know, the cute moments as well. And that's with everyone that I was coupled up with. Like, so it wasn't like, you know, oh, I was smiling at Ella. I was smiling at Scott, not at Ella. Honestly, like, I had wine. Like, I was just smiling.
I'm so glad we've like clarified this. I love that. Now, obviously, Scott has moved on with Abby.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, there is still a bit of hope somehow with fans that you and Scott could potentially rekindle things on the outside. Could you ever see it working, or is it done? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I was one of those people that was shitting at Catherine.
I know. What I'll say is that never say I never. Like, I can't predict the future, and Scott can't, the public can't. But, you know, Scott and I are in a good place. I definitely will be seeing him after the show.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, and like, you know, we got close, you know. I don't know what will happen. I just don't know what will happen.
And do you think if you had have stayed in the villa, you could have maybe rekindled things with Scott in there? Possibly? Yeah, no, Kat, I'm sorry. I know I'm really putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
What would I say? I'd say that, like, anything can happen in the Love Island villa. True. Anything can.
Who knows?
Who knows? Like,
it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. Like, you know, when you're in there 24 hours, things change so quickly.
You've brought so much context to everything, so I'm actually so glad, and I've loved chatting to you. I feel like we could just talk for hours.
I know. Like, I was like, girl, give me more. Like, I have more to say.
Oh, really? No. Okay. Well, before we wrap this up, then, is there anything else you want to get off your chest?
I don't think there's anything else as per. I think, like, as they come, I'll talk about it.
Okay.
You know,
what could come, Catherine? Like,
what could come? I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe things that we've not seen that might be
there's a
brought
lot
up.
of things. Like, you don't even see the good bits.
Okay.
Like, you don't even see the good bits. Like,
what about actually the fight with Whitney and Katie that apparently happened? Like, what happened there? Was there a fight? Like, what went on? See, just as you thought you were getting away. You've opened up Pandora's box now, Catherine.
Yeah, so, yes, there was an argument.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it bad to the point security stepped in? Was that true, or was that just...
No, security didn't step in.
Okay.
No, security didn't step in. But, you know, they were telling us to kind of calm down and stuff like that. It was kind of me, Whitney, Ella, and Katie.
Okay. What was it over?
It was over something so silly. I think that night we had 2 glasses of wine.
It's always the wine, Anna. It's always the wine that causes the problems.
Them wine moments are funny. 2 glasses of wine sends you. Like, you know.
So that whole Whitney, Katie supposed massive argument, that was just basically over people having too much wine.
Yeah, I think because the next day, obviously, when we had to, like, talk about it and stuff like that, and obviously, like, you know, just, apologize and whatnot. Like, it was a thing where we didn't even remember why we were angry or
Yeah.
why we were all shouting at each other, and we couldn't even like tell the story.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't tell the story.
It's just like a pointless
Yeah, it was just a
thing.
pointless thing because we're in the next hour, we're all just there chilling again.
Well, listen, thank you
I
so much. And
know.
we will see you again. but
Yes.
thank you for everything.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.